Howdy, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Preparedness Podcast, the podcast that brings you the best in preparedness information. You can find us online at thepreparednesspodcast.com. My name is Rob Hannes, and I'll be the host for the show. You can reach me at rob@prepcast.info. I've got some exciting news that I'm going to share with you at the end of the podcast. I'm really excited about it, so stay tuned to the end of the Oh, forget it. I'm just going to tell you now. I have released a book on Kindle, an ebook about EMP. We had the series that we did in the podcast a little bit ago. I did a webinar with the survival mom, Lisa Bedford. That went really well. Hope that you were able to get onto that. But what I did was, I took a lot of the information that I put in the podcast, and a lot of information that I didn't cover in the podcast because it's just time constraints and stuff. And so I put it into an ebook, and I added some more information, and I have some tests. I have some up-to-minute testing that I've done on Faraday cages in the book. So instead of just going on what the research says, I've looked at the research, and I've gone out and I've tested my own Faraday cages, and I found some really great information. So you're going to find that in the book. If you go to the website, thepreparednesspodcast.com, you're going to see at the top of the page, you're going to it's like they call it a sticky post. It's going to be there for a while, and you can click through and find out more about the book, and then click through to Amazon. If you're listening to this podcast down the road and that post is no longer up there, you'll still be able to find information about the book somewhere in the site, because it's definitely going to be there for a while. The name of the book is The Preparedness Podcast Mini Guide Surviving EMP. That's how you can search on it for Amazon if you want, or just click through on the website. Now, the reason I chose to do it via Kindle was for some very specific reasons. First, I'm going to be able to update this book and have you re-download it without having to repurchase it. And that way I don't have to worry about trying to get all the factoids, research and tested and stuff. I can put out what I know now, and then as I learn more and discover more and test more, then I can go ahead and update the book, and you can download it without having to, buy it all over again. The other reason is it's faster for me to get it out to, the audience, get that information out there. Otherwise, if you have to print, then you have to wait and stuff. Now, there are print-on-demand services, and I am looking into that. So when one of these mini guides or a book is at a point where I think that, okay, basically it's finished, then I can go ahead and send it to these print-on-demand places, and then the paper copies will be available for those who want the paper copies. The other reason I chose Kindle is because it's widely popular. You can get a free Kindle reader on every platform: Android, iOS, PC, Mac. You don't have to pay in order to read the book. You just have to buy the books. And chances are you probably already are reading books on Kindle because it's so ubiquitous. So that's why I chose it. I'm really excited. Had a bit of a review delay that kind of had me in a tizzy for a bit, but it just came out today, and it's up and available, and I'm really excited about it. So please check it out. Okay, I'm going to go over 4 articles today that I found that probably pretty interesting for this week. Before I do, I just want to go over our sponsor, byemergencyfoods.com. And I was going through the site, and I was looking, and I was looking at their gluten-free meals, and I have some friends that are gluten sensitive, and I think it's great that they're able to buy some emergency food without having to worry about whether or not it has gluten in it. Now, a couple of my friends, they can eat gluten, but it really kind of messes them up inside. So they say they're gluten sensitive, but here they wouldn't have to. They can go ahead and get some emergency food without having to worry about the issues that they get when they have the gluten. And I think that's important because if you are gluten sensitive or you have celiac disease, then you need to be careful of what you're getting. And you can get the same high quality meals that last 25 years and all that stuff that you can get with the regular foods at Buy Emergency Foods. And I think it's important because, if it's your son or daughter that is gluten sensitive, it can be a real pain trying to figure out what you're going to store for them in times of emergency. And here, you don't have to worry about it. You can say you can take that stress out of your food storage plan by knowing that you've got gluten-free options here. So whether you need gluten-free or you're okay with the regular meals, please go to the website, click on the Buy Emergency Foods banner or the Prepare Wise banner, and check out the meals. I think you're going to like them. Okay, and let's just go ahead and jump right into the current events and get on with the first article here. And that is an article by Business Insider. Again, I'll have a link in the show notes. It's titled 21 Everyday Items That Have Dramatically Gone Up in Price. There's actually two of these inflation-type articles we're going to cover today, and it's really interesting. This article, it's covering some common items, and we'll go over them. But it's like they give you the price in 2002 and the current price in 2012. And the reason I want to go over this is because, again, hyperinflation or inflation is something that I think is coming. We need to be ready, and I think these two articles demonstrate that it's already here, it's already starting, and it's just going to snowball from here. So gasoline, okay, I think we all know that. 2002 average was $1.44 a gallon. 2012 average is $3.73. That's a price increase of 158%. Beer, 2002 average for a 16 ounces of beer, 99 cents. The 2012 average is $1.24, so it's gone up a quarter. That's, a 25% increase. Not too bad. Eggs, grade A, large, 1 dozen, $1.03 in 2002. 10 years later, $1.80. That's a 73% increase. Now, I want you to pay attention, especially to the percent increase, because we're only talking 10 years. Coffee, ground roast, all sizes per pound. A decade ago, $2.92. Today, $5.58. That's a 90% increase. Peanut butter per pound, $1.96 a decade ago. Today, $2.75. That's a 40% increase. Milk, not too bad. It's about the same as beer. It's about a 26% increase, $2.75 in 2002 versus $3.47 today. Bread is a common one we hear about a lot. 10 years ago, a loaf of white bread averaged $1.01, and today it averages $1.41, which is a price increase or a percent increase of 39%. Pasta, spaghetti and macaroni per pound was 91 cents a decade ago, and today it's $1.32. That's a 42% increase. Orange juice had a 46% increase from $1.84 to $2.69. For the rest of these, I'm just going to cover the percent increase. You can go and take a look at them, but wine was 60%, apples were 43%, electricity in kilowatt hours was 42%, beef steaks, 41% increase, margarine, 143% increase. Tomatoes was only a 22% increase. Turkey, 56% increase. Bacon, 39% increase. Ground beef, 61% increase. Chocolate chip cookies, 39%. And strawberries only went up a penny over the last decade. So now, according to my wife, that clearly is an in-season price because they're significantly higher when they're out of season. And I'm sure the price fluctuates on this, and these were an average that they got from someplace. But the issue that I wanted to point out is, look at these percentages: 39, 56, 61, 143. That's pretty significant for just 10 years. Now, the next article is also from Business Insider. Link will be in the show notes. And this one is titled, Bulk Food Supplier Reveals How Much More Restaurants Are Paying for Food. And I think this is interesting because according to Bruce Reinstein, who is the VP of Strategic Development and Sourcing for Consolidated Concepts, basically he's looking at, because of the economy, and the epic drought that we had this summer, food is going to go up because of this. And so they don't really give a hard timeline on when we can see this, but he does say that prices are rising or about to spike. So like chicken wings are going to be about 100% more than they were in 2011. That means prices will have doubled. Bacon, over 5% higher, which is actually not too bad if you consider what we were hearing reports that bacon was probably going to go significantly higher. Apples and apple cider are going to be 20 to 30% higher this holiday season instead of being 10% lower if there hadn't been a drought. Turkey, a jump in prices of 7%. Whole chickens, 6% higher since April. Chicken breasts, 5% higher since April. The prices of eggs will probably be much higher in 2013 because there's a limited supply of chickens. Cooking oil is 5% higher now, and going into next year, we're going to see a 10% increase over 2011. Milk, butter, and other dairy products. They say here butter prices usually drop 20% in the fall, but that hasn't happened yet. Instead, we're going to be seeing 5 to 10% higher than what they were in 2011. So from 2011 to basically the end of 2012 and the beginning of 2013, we're talking about a two-year increase in prices. So some of these, 20 to 30% in 2 years is pretty significant. And so that's why I say we are probably seeing the beginning of higher inflation. Now, it's hard to say. I mean, everything from determining when peak oil occurred to whether or not we actually are having massive inflation or hyperinflation. Everything is done in hindsight. I mean, if you think back to the recession, we found out officially that we were in a recession like a year after the recession started. I mean, everything works that way. We don't know until after they can analyze stuff. So that's why it's important for us to basically keep our eye on certain things and look at the trends, because the trends can help us forecast or predict or at least have a good idea of where things are going, and then we can adjust our preparedness plan accordingly. Speaking of keeping an eye on things, even though this is the end of October, I mean, it's almost Halloween, so we're quite towards the end of the year. And I'm sure, like me, you have heard that the hurricane season, goes through November or through the middle of November, and we hardly ever get anything. And so it's always like, why is it to November? But this is why. Hurricane Sandy is basically just off the coast of Florida. It's going to march its way up the coast, and on Sunday it's going to be between North Carolina and Bermuda. And then on Monday night, it's going to basically take a sharp left turn and hit the state somewhere around Delaware and Maryland. So here we have a hurricane that is going to impact the United States late in the season. We don't usually see a lot of this. It usually is in the warmer waters of the Gulf and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where if you were to say, it's almost Halloween, we probably don't have to worry about hurricanes, you would be wrong, because it does happen. And of course, this is why, we try to be prepared, because unexpected things happen. Speaking of hurricanes, this leads me to the next news article I want to cover, and it's from the New York Times, titled, U.S. Satellite Plans Falter, Imperiling Data on Storms. And this one is just kind of perplexing to actually figure out why this happened. I mean, the article goes into basically it's a lot of mismanagement and a lack of financing and delays and stuff like that. But essentially what we're looking at is a gap in the satellite coverage for tracking, weather and weather systems and stuff in the next few years, because the existing polar satellites that we have are nearing their life expectancies. They could die at any time. They might last longer. We're never really sure with these things. But the replacement satellites aren't going to be launched until 2017 at the earliest. And so experts are basically looking at the coverage that we're going to have in the next, 3, 4, 5 years, and they're saying that there could be a gap there, which means we could actually have a decrease in the accuracy of weather forecasting. And if you think about how much we rely on these satellites for tracking of storms, of knowing when a hurricane is going to be and knowing where it is at any given moment, you can get the idea that, this is not really a good thing. And it's like, well, everybody relies on these weather forecasts. Who was responsible for this? Who exactly or what organization dropped the ball on making sure that we don't have enough satellite coverages? I have to wonder, are we having the same issue with our spy satellites or our GPS satellites? We rely on this technology. If we lost the GPS satellites, it would be a huge hit to the banking and financial systems, because they use the highly accurate clock data that's in that stream. Transportation, ship and rail and trucking and stuff, all that goes away as far as efficiency. We rely on this technology. We can't have the gaps in technology when so many people are relying on it. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out. Hopefully they'll fix it, or they'll figure out how to get satellites up there sooner or something, and that's probably what the case will be. But it's still interesting that technology that we rely on is you never know what's going to happen, I guess. Okay, so that pretty much wraps it up for current events for the week of October 1st, 2012. I hope everybody has a good Halloween. Hope you got your pumpkins already carved and burning on the porch. And until next time, folks, enjoy life and be safe.